In topic 2.2, we're going to focus on ecosystem services. And these are benefits that humans can derive from the Earth's natural ecosystems. And if humans alter natural ecosystems, this can result in the diminishing of these ecosystem services. When you talk about ecosystem services, they're sort of put into categories. There are supporting ecosystem services, regulating, cultural, and supporting ecosystems. Two of them are pretty easy to wrap your head around. The ones that are more difficult are regulating versus supporting ecosystem services. Supporting ecosystem services are sort of the functions of the ecosystem that support all of the other categories of ecosystem services. And so we'll talk about each of them in turn. So to begin, we have the supporting ecosystem services. These are the fundamental ecological processes that are taking place in natural ecosystems. This includes, things like photosynthesis, nutrient cycling, soil formation. These are core processes in ecosystems, and all of the other ecosystem services actually are derived from these basic supporting services. So the first one we'll talk about is provisioning, or the second one, I guess. Provisioning ecosystem services are ecosystem services that provide some sort of good or economic value or energy from these ecosystems. For example, harvesting lumber from a forest is a provisioning ecosystem service. That lumber can be used to build homes, to produce paper, etc. And so that is an easily quantifiable economic benefit. That's what a provisioning ecosystem is. Finding medicinal plants from the forest, like a compound called Taxol that was found in the Pacific U that is currently used in chemotherapy treatments. That was discovered in an ecosystem that provides a direct benefit. These are things that are often easy to quantify. We could put in dollars and cents. What is the value of this lumber? What is the value of this food or this drug that was derived from these ecosystems? There's also the regulating systems. The regulating ecosystem services are environmental conditions that sort of moderate or regulate important factors within the ecosystem. Some examples are oceans and forests. They act as regulators of atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. We've already talked about how the oceans absorb more carbon dioxide than they release. And so the oceans serve as a sink of CO2, helping to reduce human-induced climate change. Wetlands like mangroves and marshes help to reduce coastal erosion, help protect from flooding, help purify water. These are all examples of regulating services that we derive a benefit from the action of these ecosystems. And then we have cultural ecosystem services. Cultural ecosystem services are things that have personal value to humans. They're unquantifiable. Things like aesthetic enjoyment or spiritual importance, religious significance, mental health benefits, physical benefits, recreational uses, ecotourism. These are all things that are included under cultural ecosystem services. Mountain biking, for example, and hiking are human-induced activities that we derive benefit from, but not in a direct, quantifiable, or economic way. And sometimes when we talk about ecosystem services, we can think about instrumental value versus intrinsic value. So the ecosystem services are typically things that have instrumental value. They have worth or value to humans. But there's also the concept that natural ecosystems have their own intrinsic value. They are important for their own intrinsic worth. That's irrelevant. That their relationship to humans is irrelevant, but that they have their own value and worth that's independent of humans. That's called the intrinsic value that that we find in an ecosystem. And we know that humans, as we alter ecosystems, human-induced changes are called anthropogenic activities. We can disrupt some of these services. It can result in economic loss. If we lose, if we clear cut forests, then we have a lower availability of lumber. If we diminish the effects of regulating services, there may be more flooding, more soil erosion. There's also ecological consequences, as in the loss of biodiversity or habitat or species extinction. All of these can be ecological consequences of human action in ecosystems.